Welcome to That's Pretty Neat with Rodger and Stefan, where we discuss neat, holistic, regenerative agriculture. How does the carbon get back into the soil?
Well, the very easy answer is called photosynthesis. That's the easy answer.
So, like we learned about that.
So plants using sunlight and chlorophyll convert carbon from the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, into C3, carbon 3, and C4 sugars. So that's basically the process. Through the stomata, the plants breathe, they bring in the carbon, convert it to C3, C4 sugars. Those sugars that get pumped down into the roots. Then in the roots, they trade sugar with the fungi and the bacteria and the nematodes to get other nutrients and minerals and elements that they need. So there's this whole carbon exchange going on between living plants and other organisms, both in the fungi and the animal kingdom, and in fact some of the plants. There are some plants that are parasitic that don't have their own chlorophyll, and they so there's this free trade of carbon elements. And the more photosynthesis we have for the more of the year, the richer our soils become and the more fertile our soils become. Because let's not forget, Stefan, soil is a living organism, and it's an extremely complex living organism. We think of sand and dirt as just nothing. I mean, we've got words for it like dirt, but it's actually a living organism. It's a highly complex living organism. And that's why if we peel the skin off soil, it's like peeling our skin off, we end up dying. And it's the same with soil. If you peel the skin off the protective layer, then soil ends up dying. And when soil dies, it becomes sand because the life in it has died. However, it can take a long time to die. The very fertile prairies of America and Canada, where they had 30-foot deep soil that had developed over millions of years from the bison and everything migrating. Those soils took about 60 or 70 years to go from fertile soil to infertile soil, where after about 60 or 70 years, the farmers had to start putting chemical fertilizer onto them to get the same yields that they previously got just because the soils were fertile.
I got a question. So if it takes that long for it to die, how long does it take to build it back?
Well, that's the exciting thing. So when I was in university as a consultant, I couldn't have come to you and said, hey, I've got a really good idea. Why don't we wean you off chemical fertilizer and put you onto and have you go organic and not put these poisons into the soil anymore? And I couldn't have done it because at that time the data showed there was a 14-year drop in production before it stabilized at the bottom, before it then got back up to the same point that you were on the day that you decided to stop chemical fertilizer. So there was no way we could advise farmers and ranchers, hey, cut out your NP and K fertilizer and make a loss for the next 14 years. And after 14 years, then you'll be at the same point you are today. It was a non-starter. But over the last 30 years, we haven't given up on that goal. And we're having a lot of success with replacing fertilizer a bit at a time each year with cover crops and very biodiverse cover crops to build the fertility. So as we reduce, let's say by 10% a year, our fertilizer input, we increase our cover crop input. So the cost stays about the same. The reduction in price of fertilizer you put towards seed, and we're gradually able to have farms convert. And then from that point forward, they'll never need fertilizer again, and they'll continue to build the carbon in the soil, what we call soil organic matter,
Yep.
and they'll continue to build the fertility. Because remember, the difference between a fertile soil and an infertile soil is the quantity of life.
So what's a good percent? What would you call a dead soil? How much percent organic matter would a dead soil have?
Well, I wouldn't call a dead soil a soil. I would call dead soil sand.
Okay. So 0?
0. Once there is life in soil, then it's soil.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, soil is a living organism,
Yeah.
not a dead organism, not a dead organism. So it's sand until you add life, then it's soil, but the fertility of the soil changes based on how much life.
Okay.
And if you've ever picked up, rich humic acid compost full of earthworms and pill beetles and scorpions and millipedes and
I
you
don't
can just
pick up any with scorpions.
you can just see everything just wriggling around and full of life. You can tell when stuff is just full of life.
What's the ideal percentage to get to?
I don't think we know.
That's kind of exciting.
Yeah. People have been managing holistically since about 84, so that's quite a while now. And I don't know of a rancher in the world who's reached the upper limits yet. Every time we think we've reached the upper limits, we find nature surprises us and does more.
What are some high levels that people have been reaching recently?
Some farmers have reported going from 1% to 6 or 7%
Wow.
Carbon in the soil. So that's quite dramatic.
That's very dramatic.
Yeah. But I think we can go higher.
You can follow Rodger at d2gftf.com and also on his socials at Rodger Savory Holistic Management on YouTube and Facebook. We are Las Cumbres Ranch. You can follow us on social media at Las Cumbres Ranch over all platforms. And thanks for tuning in. It's been real neat.